Hello everyone, this is Taneli from Vermithor. We're giving this little video interview for Death Metal Promotion channel. And the first question was to briefly introduce our band. Our band consists of 4 members, me as a guitarist, vocalist and main songwriter, Sulo, our lead guitarist, Harri, our bass player, and Jan, our drummer. We play traditional, old school, US style death metal, and some of our influences include Cannibal Corpse, Deicide, Dying Fetus, Suffocation, Internal Bleeding, Pyrexia, and also hardcore influences such as Madball, Terror, All Out War, Earth Crisis, Ringworm, Cold as Life, Marauder, etc. Second question is about our band's name. Vermithor, as you might know, is taken from the George R.R. Martin's lore from A Song of Ice and Fire, from the book Fire and Blood, which is also known as the TV show House of the Dragon. And I was first watching the show actually before I read the book, and when I encountered the name of the dragon Vermithor, I thought it was like really cool and almost reminded me of one of my favorite albums, which is Ulcerate's Vermis, and also an old Finnish old school death metal band called Slugator. And I thought that Vermithor is almost like a combination of these two titles, and I instantly thought that that would make a cool name for a metal band. So next song is about the creation of Bass and Throne. So Vermithor was founded last August in 24, and I already had a pretty good idea if I want to play death metal again, that I want to play this 90s death metal with metallic hardcore influences, and I already had some of these riffs that I used to write for my old project some 15 years ago, and Cadaverous Uprising song was pretty much instantly created from those riffs and some new riffs, and also Waste and Throne was created basically instantly. But songs like Veil of Control, I wanted to do something different, so I decided to do a little bit faster song on the verses. It's kind of grindy, and the middle part of the song is first like this little bit more progressive song. It has some hints from Death albums, Individual Thought Patterns and Human. It has different time signatures, and also the riff that comes after the technical part is pretty hardcore like, so there's a good contrast there. And the song Last Line of Defense was intended to be a little bit more a mid-tempo song, and it has some influences from Bolt Thrower and some older death songs like Open Casket, for example. And also it has some influences from New York bands like Marauder and Madball. These songs were, so to say, cooking up in my head for a long time, and the complete EP was written and rehearsed in little under than 4 months, and then we recorded it in December and published it in March after mixing and mastering the album by Arttu Lesain. The album was actually recorded live in studio, so we played at the same time drums and all the rhythm guitars and bass, and we used tube amp heads for guitars and overdrive pedals, which were plugged into the audio system, and the cabinets were simulated on the computer. And the drums were of course recorded as acoustically normally with microphones, so there were no bleed from guitars and bass for the drum tracks. And after that we added some guitar leads and re-recorded some riffs. There were problems, maybe the pinches didn't sound good or some other stuff, but I would say that the drum tracks are basically 90% made of one take, and Sulo's guitar is basically, I would say, 95. There was just some changes on the pinches, and my guitars are probably 90%. I had to record 2 fills again, and Harri's bass lines where some parts were re-recorded for better timing afterwards. But basically, I would say, honestly, it's like 80% what you hear on the EP is one take from all of the instruments. And of course, vocals were added later, and I recorded them one verse at a time. The themes on the album are about the problems that we have in our current world, the inequality and harsh conditions that people have to live in, and about all the major problems of our time, but they are told in a story of a dystopian future in the wasteland, which is ruled by this evil and ruthless emperor, and he continues to rule with an iron fist after the apocalypse. And there is also this lower class of mutants living in the sewers under the luxurious new world of the totalitarian regime. And this is the setting that the future Vermithor songs are also going to be set in. So I am a great fan of 80s and 70s sci-fi, for example, from Total Recall to Alien, and from RoboCop to Escape from New York, and so on. So I like to tell this sci-fi dystopia kind of story and setting for this music to explore the wrongs in our current world. But also our song The Last Line of Defense is an exception, because it is a straight up song about the Ukrainian war and the heroic resistance of Ukrainian military and Ukrainian people against the Russian unprovoked invasion that is going on. And I personally have lots of friends who have participated in the war in some matter, and as Finnish band we also have experiences of invasions from the east, and we stand with Ukraine really firmly. Our theme of Mass Surveillance, which is the main theme of song Veil of Control, is also visible on the album art cover. As you can see, it's a version of this Iron Throne from Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire realm, and instead of swords it uses mobile devices such as smartphones and tablets as its construction material, since those are in a way the swords of our time. They are used as to guide drones and other ammunition in the battlefields of Ukraine, and also you can use, or they are used by governments and agencies as a means of intelligence and as a source of information for the multinational corporations and other greedy players in this game that are after our privacy and after our lives. The album cover is painted by my friend Juha. You can check his artwork at Juha Makinen Artworks in Instagram. He has also really cool paintings and drawings from military and law enforcement teams. Next question is about our work with the label Iron Corps, and Iron Corps is a very well established one-man label in the Finnish underground metal scene, and our work with the tape and some online releases has been really good. And Iron Corps has also published other prominent Finnish underground bands and is doing really hard work, and all of our love and support for Iron Corps is a great one. So please support Iron Corps and order albums and shirts from their web store. And next question is about if a label is necessary for a band nowadays, and I don't think it is, but it makes things a little bit easier. But mainly I'm relying on online visibility and digital releases on the future. And of course, if some label wants to publish our future albums as CD or vinyl, that would be great, but I'm not counting on that anymore on the scene nowadays, because the market is what it is. The next question is about how I found death metal and how death metal did grab me. I think I was like 15 years old when I heard Cannibal Corpse for the first time. It was the song Blood or Slaughter from Bloodthirst album, and pretty quickly I found it Hammer Smash Face and Fuck with a Knife, other classic songs from Tomb of the Mutilated and Bleeding. And quickly after Cannibal Corpse I found Left Hand Path by Entombed, so I was quickly introduced to both US style and Swedish style of death metal. And I think the next big thing was Nile. It was 20 years ago when Nile released Annihilation of the Wicked. Actually, it was yesterday, 20 years ago. And I remember still when I had my allowance and spent it to the record store to buy both Black Seeds of Vengeance and Annihilation of the Wicked. And then I went all the way: Suffocation, Dying Fetus, Napalm Death, Carcass, everything, Bolt Thrower, from UK to US to South America, Crisium, stuff like that. And also Polish bands such as Behemoth and Vader were a really big influence for me at some point. And I also listened to the metallic hardcore at the same time, because from the town that I'm from, there was a really vivid scene also in metallic hardcore, and there were also some live show nights which had half of the bands were death metal and half of the bands were hardcore. So I pretty quickly found bands like I found bands like Terror and Hatebreed, Madball, Marauder, and others from the classic New York scene, and of course Terror being from the LA, but the American metallic hardcore bands. And maybe the idea for this kind of music, which uses the hardcore influences with the old traditional death metal, it's been cooking in my head for almost 20 years, I would say. Recent albums that I liked, one international album, I would say Manual Manic Procedures by 200 Stab Wounds. I really like the guitar tones and all around sound of the album, and the violent groove they have, and all this old school feel to the album. And one Finnish album I would recommend is Fairy Tales of Filth by Come Beast. That is a really good brutal death metal album with also some bits of good humor in the lyrics and themes of the songs. And the question about the death metal scene in Finland. Right now in central Finland there is a band called Scopus Magnus, also doing kind of a traditional death metal alongside with us. But in Finland in general we have a great scene of young guys making old school death metal. We really have a new wave of death metal revival. Bands such as Azathoth, Whispered, Gorecoast, Morbific, and lots of others are right now doing this like really old school death metal stuff. And I think Vermithor fits in the Finnish death metal scene really good, because we have this kind of unique for the Finnish scene sound with the death metal and hardcore blend, and we have more like this groovy approach than the bands I just said play more like the really like the old Death, Morbid Angel, first albums of Deicide kind of stuff, and we lean more towards the end of the 90s and beginning of 2000s, like Pierce from Within, Destroy the Opposition, Cannibal Corpse's Bloodthirst, Wretched Spawn, Kill, such albums. So next question is about the top death metal album and the top death metal album cover. And these are really hard because there are so many great albums. But today, if I have to choose one that is my all-time favorite death metal album, I would say it is the Pierced from Within by Suffocation. It has so complex and good songwriting and overall balance of the album, the tones, the vocals by Frank Mullen, the drumming, all the time measurements, time signature changes, the scales they used on these songs, the guitars, and the variety between the songs. If you compare the Invoking and Thrones of Blood, which is my all-time favorite song of all music, I think. There is such a variety, but it's still clearly one good package. And I think that is a perfect album. And if someone asked me what kind of music is death metal, I play Thrones of Blood and say that this is the quintessential death metal sound. The best album cover, I would choose the Tomb of the Mutilated by Cannibal Corpse. Again, I think that is the quintessential album cover for death metal because it is so obscene and grotesque, and it's really well executed, but it's so explicitly sexual and violent, and it is something that you don't wear at your grandma's birthday. And I think that is all about the death metal album covers, that that make them so gruesome and wild. And the last question is, what is next for Vermithor? We are gonna hit a studio in less than 2 weeks, and we are gonna record 2 songs that will be released individually in digital format, and maybe later on some other EP or album. But these 2 songs will be displaying some new sound and new tones that we have been working on, and they're also using we're using a producer for the first time to better our ideas, to enrich our music. And the 2 songs will be recorded by Arttu Lesonen, who has also recorded our Waste and Throne EP. And after that, we are gonna start really playing live shows, and we have our first gig coming in less than 3 weeks, and we have other shows planned for the August and September as well already. And in the meantime, between the shows, I'm going to focus on songwriting, and I already have a rough idea about the full-length album that we're gonna release hopefully next spring or next summer in 2026. And now we are focusing on playing as a band to execute the live shows as tight and raw as possible. Thank you very much for watching this interview.